Welcome to one more of the Premier Project podcast where we discuss the best ways to implement the multi-actor approach during the project proposal writing stage. My name is Mitjels Grivic. Our guest for today is Marija Pikmets from KKLM Kodukant Lanema. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Hi Marija.
Hey, yes, you pronounced it quite correctly.
I actually yesterday used Google pronunciation to test how to pronounce it correctly, so I trained a little bit.
Yeah, especially the letters with the dots are difficult.
So, and as usual, we are joined by my colleague, Anda Adamson-Fiskovic. So, could you maybe shortly introduce yourself and tell about your experience with multi-actor approach?
Sure. So, I've been working in a leader action group for 7 years, and in leader, the multi-actor approach is essential when you do any kind of cooperation projects. So I think for me to join in the Premier project in that sense wasn't a surprise, but it's definitely been very interesting to see how this multi-actor approach can be seen as a new way or something that is kind of not natural.
So you are saying new way, so does it mean that for you it's not very new?
Yes. In leader it is, as I said, it's essential. That's how you do things. Any cooperation projects, you always have to involve either entrepreneurs or NGOs, some kind of village communities, also public bodies. You know, it just works together. That's the point of leader, so that you would actually get the results that you wish to have. Then you have to involve and engage everybody.
Just for those who might not know what leader is, can you just briefly explain what is it and who is funding that or not?
Yeah, so I can't really translate the word itself because it's in France, in French, but it is European funding that is meant to empower and help. So it's to improve and to empower the rural areas all over Europe.
Okay, but I think it's interesting what you said before, that while we use this fancy concept of multi-actor, which maybe is scary to somebody and people just read and say, what does this mean? Do I really correspond to this requirement and do I understand this complex thing? It's actually a very basic thing and most of us is doing something like that. Do I understand correctly?
Yes, I think it's a very basic thing, and I think people shouldn't be afraid of it. Maybe in Horizon Europe, if you say it as a requirement, it might seem scary, and if you haven't done projects like with this requirement before, then it might seem, too hard to comprehend. But basically, I would say it's just to get people on board that are the beneficiaries and the people who can help. So just involve everybody who could be involved and could be interested in it.
Okay, but then, so from what you're saying, I understand that in general, if you are active and you are participating in local projects, probably you have some sense of what collaboration it implies, sort of how you have to structure it, but then getting into these projects is something slightly different. So maybe you can elaborate about if we sort of have put that side, that sort of people probably understand what it is, we can put it somewhere aside, then probably people still have problems or questions on how to get into these projects where you can actually implement something like this. So could you maybe elaborate about that?
Yeah, I think it's in that level where Horizon Europe works, in that level I think it's hard both for the coordinators to find the right multi-actor partners and also for the grassroots level actors to get on board of these big projects. So I think the work needs to be done on both ways, for when I'm talking about seed funding, for example, the part that we tested in Premier, then what I've heard from others is what's most important is to be very persistent, to be very loud, in a sense that you have to show yourself as much as possible. Go to events, put yourself out there, speak to people, as many people as you can. This is the main thing, because if you don't have those contacts yet, like for me, it was just, we were lucky in the sense that we were asked to join in because somebody who was already a partner in this Premier project, they knew us and knew that we could handle this task, so they invited us in, so it wasn't hard for me. But for those who don't know anything about it and they feel like they want to take these challenges on a higher level, then definitely just start talking to as many people as you can, even if you don't get to the right person right away. The person you are talking to might know somebody. So this is the main thing that you have to concentrate on, and very persistently, very actively. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort to just constantly send out letters, have your own partner profile designed and send it out, and introducing yourself, having online meetings, having meetings in contact. So this is the main thing, I think, for finding a consortium.
So there are quite a few things that you mentioned, but let's maybe start with clarifying what is seeds. So from what you are saying, it's basically these entities who received some funding to get some support to actually find their way into Horizon Europe multi-actor approach projects.
Yeah, pretty much. So as a task, this was to test how seed funding, so a small amount of funding, could help these small-scale actors to get on board, so that it would help them to find a consortium and it would help them to participate actively in the proposal development. Because it's kind of time-consuming, of course, and also financially it can be very hard, because the participation in brokerage events all over Europe is costing a lot. So this testing of the seed funding, we took on board eight actors who were interested in joining in big consortiums.
But you clarified that it's challenging for everybody to actually find their consortium, and it can be time consuming, it can be resource constraining because you have to pay tickets and you have to go somewhere. But then you also started to list things that people have to do, and you mentioned be loud. Then you said, well, make sure that your written information is available online. So then you also mentioned participate in online meetings. So maybe could you try to make some broad list of main things that you have learned people need to do if they want to get in the consortium?
Yeah. These three things are the essentials. So send out a lot of emails. Attend as many events as possible, either in national level or international level. These kind of events that could be suitable for your own profile, in the sense that if you're a farmer and you want to be involved in a Horizon project that is somehow related to your farming, then go to these events. So definitely, what we did do is we helped the seeds to develop their own partner profiles, where they listed the things that they are good at, that they could provide when they would be a part of a consortium. So just, exactly, sell yourself again. So everything about it, just selling yourself.
Yes, basically, you cannot expect that somebody else will know who you are if you haven't defined it for yourself who you are.
Absolutely, definitely not. And this is an interesting thing that came out from the interviews that we've had with the seeds. Is some of them said that the next round they are going to be more explicit with their partner profiles, that they want to be more like cold topic oriented, and some said that we're gonna make a profile that is a little bit broader, because we didn't find with this really tight profiles, we didn't find those partners, but we want to be out there and we want to somehow get on board.
I was wondering, in those cases, isn't that difficult to sell yourself if you're not quite aware whom you are selling yourself to? Because in the multi-actor approach, the partner profiles are very different. They can come from research, they can come from industry, and if you're just within your sector, you might not know what the other sector might not know about you. What is the strength or the weaknesses? So do you think that's a challenge to know what to emphasize in these profiles?
Yeah, I think they have, if you're a newcomer, you anyway have a lot of doubts. So this was something that came up a lot by them, and for me, myself as well, am I actually as competent as needed in this project? So do I know these things that I need to know? I would recommend in that sense, just have somebody else look at your profile. We have the NCPs, for example. We have different kind of umbrella organizations that can be helpful in that sense. Just have somebody else look at you and maybe give you suggestions what you should bring out. And definitely, when you started asking this, I remember that what is also very important is to do the research. So if you don't know yet where to place yourself, or who I want to join, do your research. Look at the consortiums, look at the projects that have been done, look what seems to be interesting for you, and start building on that, for example.
I had another question that popped in my mind when you were talking about leader, and then when I was thinking about Horizon. And of course, my perspective as a researcher is that usually there is the research partner in Horizon Europe projects, but I guess it's not the case in leader projects, or am I wrong?
Usually, you're not wrong. In leader project, in leader there's not so much money, and in research you need much more money. So with leader, it's very different in different kind of regions, even inside a country. It can be how each action group chooses to implement the funding. But for example, in our case, we give funding for entrepreneurs, and then we give funding for NGOs and public bodies. So we have these different things, and they can choose who they want to or don't want to, because they can do it alone as well. But each time we do a project as a leader action group, then we always have to involve others. This is something that's like part of the game. And when we start building up our strategy for next period, then we always have to have these engagement events where we have everybody on board. But in that sense, we don't have researchers, because there's usually, like, if there is somebody who might be a researcher, of course they are invited, but usually we just don't have the money to fund this.
Okay.
Well, as a researcher, I could say, who needs researchers? But getting back to the newcomers, so what you're saying, there are basically 5 things from what, so I'm trying to peel out. You're saying that, first of all, it doesn't happen overnight, and so people who want to get into these projects have to be patient and have to wait and have to be persistent. Then do your research, actually understand what's out there, write your profile, then be loud, and network. And then when you were talking about network, I this book called "It Takes a Village to Raise a Child," famous anthropological book. I'm not sure do I quote the title correctly, but it seems the same thing. It takes a support of whole range of different organizations around you to actually support your journey to Horizon Europe. Do I get it correctly?
I guess if you're very, very how do you say it, like confident, I think you can do it alone, of course. I'm sure there are people or organizations that can do it alone, but it's a multi-actor thing, right?
Yeah.
You need it from the beginning.
And also, if you have these networks, why not use them? Like national contact points are here to help everybody.
Exactly. All networks. What I've heard, just use all your networks. Send your letter out to everybody that we are looking for, we want to join, we have these or these ideas, do you know somebody? And it's not only just Horizon Europe.
Yeah.
You can use other types of funding for your purpose. So either way, I think it's you can't lose in the sense that even if you don't join a consortium this time or don't get the proposal done, you've already learned something about yourself, about the network, about the people, and what others are doing. So in that sense, I think you can't really lose. Yeah, it's your time, but still. And there's one more thing that should be on the list that was said out loud. Try.
Okay.
So that was, I think it was a good thing that they said it. Just try, because you can't be perfect from the beginning. You just have to try different things. If one thing isn't working, try another thing. And you learn as you go.
Okay.
So I think it's also important not to be too harsh on yourself if things don't happen right away the way you want it or the way you expect it. So.
But there was something else at the beginning when you started to talk about seeds and newcomers. You said that it's stalling on these newcomers, but it's also challenging for those that are looking for newcomers. So could you maybe, so we have talked or discussed why it's challenging for newcomers, but why it's challenging for those that are setting up consortium?
Well, I haven't been a coordinator or it's my first time to be a partner anyway. But what seems to me is that if you are doing these kind of big projects, you have to be sure about your partners. So of course you can. It's like a snowball effect. It works both ways for both the newcomers and the coordinators. But you basically, if you have some kind of partner set up, you can say we are looking for this or this kind of partner. So they start searching in their contacts, etc. But in the end, you can't be really sure if they can pull it, in the sense that do they actually deliver what they're needed to deliver. And for example, if you're a first-time coordinator, for example, that we also had, then you need to also know that you actually get these partners that you need so that the project would be successful. I think, and they won't go, coordinators won't go like looking out of the window and saying like, who wants to join in? So I think it's
that would be a really nice consortium, like opening window. Join me, I'm writing something.
Yes, why not? So I think it can be a challenge for them as well, in that sense, just to be sure of, because I think everybody wants to build a strong consortium, right?
Yeah.
And if you get newcomers on board, it's a big risk that they take on. So there is this question on how to kind of minimize this risk or how to balance these so that you can be secure that you will achieve what you have promised.
Yeah, I think you raised a very relevant point that project doesn't stop when you submit a proposal. It then continues. If you are lucky, you get funding, and then you have to do what you have promised. And then if it turns out that you have promised a lot, but then there is nobody to do that, well, consortium coordinator is in a pickle. Like, how to do it then?
Yeah.
And
yeah, I think what I was hearing is that one of the arguments that we're also have discovered in our premier work is that there is this very thin line of striking the balance between working with your trusted partners whom you already know, but then also mixing them with newcomers, but to ensure that you're not stepping over the risk line where you're getting into an unexplored area where you can't be sure for anything. So I think that's a very big challenge for the coordinators.
But in Estonia, we have this saying, who doesn't take a risk doesn't drink champagne.
and we have the same in Latvia.
Yeah.
So these are the two countries that take risks to drink champagne.
Yeah, we just have beer though, but okay.
Anyway, unfortunately we don't have all day for this conversation and we have to wrap it up. And usually when we are wrapping it up, I ask what would you recommend to people who are just getting in, but that was the whole conversation about what would you recommend. So maybe let's try to flip this question on its head and ask what they should definitely not do. What would be things that to avoid when you are trying to find a consortium?
Wow, that's a difficult one. Don't be lazy.
Okay.
Don't be lazy would be my first recommendation. because as I said before, that you have to be very active. Don't be lazy or don't give up.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something that, like, if you're not getting it right the first time or in a few weeks, don't give up. Just keep trying.
But I think this "don't be lazy" is a very good advice, because, as we just discussed, project coordinators are looking on your skills and your capabilities, and if you show already in a proposal writing stage that you are not willing to deliver, then once the project is approved, probably you will be even less motivated to do something, because sort of then the carrots are you already have the carrot, like why to do something. So yeah, don't be lazy. That's a good general motive.
If I may just ask towards the end of our conversation about your experience from the seed funding pilot project, if we may say so. Do you think that's a valuable tool for the Commission or any other authorities that would like to use this kind of support in the future? Do you see the potential for this type of support?
I think it's very necessary if the Commission wants the multi-actor projects to be stronger and to be more used, or not the word, so that the multi-actor approach would be something that's common and like in more topics than now.
Mainstreamed as
then I think it's very important to support these newcomers. And maybe there should be a separate kind of support mechanism. I'm not saying it should be funding, but for those coordinators as well who take on newcomers. So definitely the premier tools that we are still producing and have been produced are, I think, helpful for those coordinators and consortiums. But it's just. And I need to say that it's not just the money that's necessary, but the other support as well. Because without knowing how to use the money, it's not helpful. But it definitely is something that could be very useful for getting the real actors on board.
Okay, thank you. So this is where we are ending our conversation. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Anda.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope we will have a possibility to continue this conversation soon. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank
Ciao.
you. Bye.